All right, let's get right into it. For years, we've been told that technology is going to make our world safer, more efficient, basically by taking us out of the equation. Today, we're going to see how that idea really holds up out on the open sea. We're talking about human error and how it's not disappearing, but actually evolving. You've heard this promise a million times, right? From self-driving cars to the gigantic cargo ships that fuel our entire economy, the story is always the same. Smarter machines are supposed to mean fewer human mistakes. And it's a great vision, but is it really the whole story? Because what if that promise is hiding something a little more complicated? What if all our fancy new tools aren't actually getting rid of human error, but just, you know, changing its shape? That's the big question we're digging into. So I want you to picture the bridge of a modern ship. It's not old wood and brass wheels anymore. It's all sleek dashboards, predictive analytics, smart sensors, everything designed for absolute perfect optimization. It's a world that promises zero mistakes. But right in the middle of all that shiny tech, there they are, the crew. Still walking around, thinking for themselves, coming up with fixes on the fly, and yeah, sometimes ignoring alarms that, as one person put it, beep like needy toddlers. The human element just refuses to go away. So let's just put it right out there. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Despite all the gadgets, all the data, all the automation, human error is absolutely not going away. And this, right here, is the most important part. It's not that the tech isn't working. It's that it's creating a totally new kind of error, a ghost in the smart machine, if you will. This really breaks down how things have shifted. See, human error 1.0, that was a mistake of judgment. You had some information and you made the wrong call. But human error 2.0, that's a mistake of trust. It's about putting way too much faith in a system that, maybe quietly, is getting something wrong. So what do these new dangers actually look like? Well, they pretty much break down into two big problems that feed into each other: our habit of overtrusting the machines and just being completely buried in data. First, you've got this thing called automation bias. And it makes sense, right? The better and more reliable a system gets, the more you're going to lean on it. But that trust can slowly, quietly make us less engaged. We stop asking questions, we stop double-checking, we just accept what the machine says, even when its advice is, well, not so good. And that problem gets way worse when you add in the second piece of the puzzle, the data deluge. I mean, just look at this. Officers are just bombarded with a nonstop flood of information from every single part of the ship. Now, you'd think more info equals better decisions, but in the real world, it can actually create less clarity. The goal isn't just to have more data, it's to understand what it means. When you're swimming in a sea of numbers you didn't even ask for, it becomes so much harder to spot the one critical thing you actually need to see. The new errors aren't caused by a lack of information, but by drowning in it. Okay, so this brings us to this really fascinating and honestly kind of scary idea at the heart of all this tech. It's called the automation paradox. Here it is, plain and simple. The more we hand off tasks to the machine, the rustier our own skills get. We're not practicing them anymore. And that's totally fine, day in and day out. Until that moment, the automation breaks down. And suddenly, you need those skills you haven't used in ages, and you need them right now. This analogy is just perfect. It says modern crews are like lifeboats. You almost never use them. They are absolutely critical for survival. And you only find out if they work when everything has already gone completely wrong. So, if trying to design the human out of the system is just creating new problems, what do we do? Well, it's not about throwing out the technology. It's about building a fundamentally smarter partnership between the person and the machine. The old way of thinking was all about getting rid of the human, treating them like a bug in the system. The new goal is a complete 180. It's about designing systems that help human judgment. The tech shouldn't be a replacement for a skilled person, it should be their best ever co-pilot. And that means we have to design for real people. People who get tired after a 6-hour watch. People who have to make huge decisions when they're exhausted and juggling a dozen things at once. The technology has to be built for that messy, stressful world, not some perfect laboratory. And this, really, is the big idea to take away from all this. Chasing a completely error-free world, that might just be a fantasy. A much smarter and, frankly, safer goal is to create error-resilient systems We need systems that are built to absorb a mistake, to give clear guidance, and to keep the human expert in charge to make that final, critical decision. So in the end, yeah, the ghost in the machine, it's still us. Technology hasn't gotten rid of human error. It's just dressed it up in a new digital jacket. And if we don't start designing for the real, complicated, and brilliant people using these tools, the biggest danger we face might not come from a storm at sea, but from the very tech that promised to save us from ourselves.